Welcome back. You know that last week I already told you which players you need to cut, just move on from, no need to hold. And now let's do the opposite. I'm going to tell you some players you might be tempted to drop. I don't think you should. What better place to start than in Seattle? You might have heard the Mariners are shaking things up because they're getting tired of the way things are. And by that I mean a team that's barely hovering around the 500 mark despite having the best pitching staff in the majors. That's right. Somehow the Mariners have managed to have the best team ERA and simultaneously the worst team batting average. I don't know how you pull that off, but they've done it. Well, that led to Scott Service being fired. There's going to be a new manager in town and a new hitting coach, and this is where things get interesting. The Mariners going back to a more successful period of team history, and they're going with Dan Wilson, the former catcher there. Although, maybe he's not a name that pops out to you, especially in terms of fantasy performance. But oh well, look, he was there for a while. They like him. He's good. And Edgar Martinez, I know you've heard of him, Hall of Fame DH. He's going to be the new hitting coach, and they're really hoping that he can turn things around. And part of that is with a player they really hoped would help turn things around and hasn't, Randy Arozarena. They acquired him before the deadline. Well, he didn't have his best season so far in the first half. With Tampa, he was hitting 211, really rough until the end. He picked things up. And since going to Seattle, he's hitting 216 with just one home run. So really more of the same. This move is interesting because it's not just that they're shaking things up, not just a new hitting coach who maybe will help, who knows. But I really like what stood out from what Edgar Martinez said that they want to be a more fastball ready team. Have these hitters looking fastball first and then adjust. And this really jives with what Arozarena's issue has been this season. It's interesting that if you look over the years, he was really good at hitting the fastball. And this year, don't know what happened, but he's had a career worst right now, hitting 159 against four seamers. I'm not sure why. Again, this is just a timing thing, but he needs to be fixed. And it looks like Edgar Martinez is almost speaking directly to Arzarena when he talked about his new approach. Now, there's no guarantee that new coaches will help a struggling star turn things around, but I think you have to remain patient with a Rosarena, give him a chance. And if nothing else, it's not like he's exactly heating up, but he does have a couple hits lately. But he is at least delivering in the stolen base department. He has 4 steals just in the past week. So I'm going to hold on here and see what happens. Seattle is still very much in it. Rosarena is still that same guy somewhere in there. I think I just have to continue to keep him in the lineup and see what he delivers. Now, speaking of ERA leaders, let's look at the one pitcher who still leads the majors with a 2.02 ERA. Despite a small bump in the road, that's Ronaldo Lopez. Why do I have to talk about him here, even if he's been that good this year? People are legitimately worried. I continue to get questions. Are you concerned that Lopez, A, will finally see some negative regression, which seems long overdue, and B, will have his innings cut short by the Braves because this is a pitcher who has not been in the rotation long term. He just came out of the bullpen back when he was the White Sox, was not good, then finally went to Atlanta, was used in very, very short relief. Is this all just going to come crashing down essentially? Is this going to be like a Garrett Crochet situation? And the answer there is no, I don't think so, and here's why. So first, let's talk innings, right? This is the main concern here. Well, yeah, I understand he has not pitched very many innings over the last few years. As I mentioned, last year, a total between a couple of teams of 66 innings. The year before that, in 2022, 65 innings. Before that, 57. And before that, only 26. But if you go just a little further back, he has pitched a full season's worth of innings as a starter in 2019, 184, and before that, 188. He's been among the leaders in innings pitched. It's just so long ago that we kind of forgot about that. So this is totally not a Garrett Crochet situation. Garrett Crochet is much younger and literally has not even come close to pitching the amount of innings that Ronaldo Lopez has over a full season ever. And this is obviously not some rookie pitcher like a Paul Skeens or Jared Jones where you really have to worry about preserving him for his future and blah, blah, blah. No, the Braves are going to continue to use him as long as he's healthy. They're trying to be a playoff team. And then with Lopez, actually might have done him some good to get hurt. Yeah, that's right, because he was cruising along and then all of a sudden kind of hit that bump in the road. had a couple of bad starts, and then landed on the IL. But this basically prolongs his season because that gave him a couple weeks to rest. And it looks like it actually did him some good because as soon as he came back, he had back to back starts with just one earned run left. And he's had 17 strikeouts over the last two starts since coming off the IL. So anybody who did just say, well, let me drop him now, that was a big mistake. And as far as regression, I mean, I will admit the numbers do say that his ex WOBA is quite a bit higher than his actual WOBA. But some pitchers, it just happens that they continue to outperform their expected stats. I don't think we're going to all of a sudden see him get slapped in the face, and give up run after run. He knows what he's doing. He's just outperforming his X stats. It's probably going to continue this way. We only have a couple weeks left. Just ride it out. Now, an all-star pitcher that has definitely caused more concern lately is Tanner Houck. I know some people are just worried he's hit the wall, right? Similar situation, a pitcher who's bounced back and forth between rotation and bullpen over the years. Maybe the innings are, just taking a tally on him. Maybe he's fatigued. Who knows what it is? But he doesn't look like the same guy, and those ratios do keep rising. His ERA since the All-Star break, 5.18 with a whip of 1.58. So a total 180 from the pitcher who's dominant through the entire first half. So I do understand the concern with Houck, and I will admit it's possible that he's feeling some fatigue, whatever the situation is. But on the same hand, I will say I think some of the concerns are a little bit overblown because, yes, he has definitely had some bad starts, but he's had some good starts too. It's not like every time out since the second half began, he's just been bad. So, for example, he has gone at least 6 innings each of the last 4 starts, right? He's not getting cut short. He's not having these 3 inning, 4 inning starts where he gets blown up. He's actually thrown 3 quality starts in his last 4. Only one of them has been what you would consider a bad start. Now, he also had a bad start before those last 4, but what I'm saying is it's not like the bad is far outweighing the good. And if you dig into the X stats, if you believe in that sort of thing, which I do, look at his rolling X WOBA. It's not going up at all. In fact, it's staying pretty steady. So it doesn't show as if he's doing worse. He seems to be fine, just had a couple of rough patches. But I think for the most part, unless you're in a situation where you have a deep rotation or you don't feel like you need to take any risk whatsoever, whatever it is, okay, you could make a case to drop him and eliminate the risk of a bad start, but for the most part, I don't think you need to. I'm going to hold on, and especially because now his next turn in the rotation is projected to be against Detroit. All right, what about some young hitters? And by young, I mean very young, a rookie and a second-year player who, well, haven't quite turned it all the way around. Let's start with the obvious Jackson Holiday. So the season stats just are not good. Right? The batting average, I know, is worrisome. And just when it looked like he got called up and was ready for prime time, he had a really, really rough week, and that's being generous. Went hitless for an entire week, going 0 for 19. Well, his season average is still better since his second call up, but overall just hitting 225 since that last recall. So while that's obviously some reason for concern, I'll just say to hold on here because let's look beyond just batting average. He's driving in runs quite a bit, even despite being at the bottom of that order. In fact, since he's gotten called up again, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs in just 80 at bats. If you're going to remain patient with anyone, it should be the guy who's #1 prospect in all of baseball. He's still just 20 years old. There's going to be some bumps, but like he's on one of the best offenses in the majors, and that's a big plus. He's continuing to get better, and that power is there. At least he's shown us something. He is contributing for you, just not in batting average. And, well, unfortunately, no steals here either. But, yeah, that RBI total is definitely promising. I'm going to keep going with him. I don't feel like you have to start him every day, but, man, when he is off, he's definitely off, as he was not too long ago. But when he's on, he does drive and runs in bunches. And then the other player I'm hinting at is Anthony Volpe. Very similar situation here. Middle infielder with some power. Volpe is supposed to deliver in batting average because he's got even better hit tool, I would argue, than Jackson Holiday. But man, the batting average has also been rough. On the season, hitting 247, and he's got 11 home runs, 23 stolen bases, 78 runs scored. The runs scored were the main appeal here, but we know he's not hitting leadoff anymore. So with the batting average just mediocre, just, okay in the power department, really. Are we hanging on to him just because he's over 20 steals in the season? Yes. And not just because of steals, although there aren't too many guys over 20 steals just floating on waiver wire, but also I just believe in Volpe. Look, I understand that maybe I'm irrationally high still. His ex-Woba is really low. It is in the bottom 7 percentile of the league at 277. His walk rate isn't that great, and his batting average, well, he's actually getting a little bit lucky at times, but speed helps. Like I do think he's going to continue to deliver across the board in terms of counting stats. So I love his placement in that lineup for New York. I'm just going to keep going with him. I've noticed he's been dropped in a few leagues here and there. I know most people are sticking with him, but some people are ready to bench him. I'm just going to continue to get what I can from him because he's such a talented player. I feel like he'll pick it up down the stretch here. And the player you're really probably wondering about is Camilo Doval, a closer who was sent down, lost his job, maybe doesn't even get it back. What do you do with Doval? Do you hold on? Do you drop him? Do you pick him up if he was dropped? Well, obviously, I'm going to say let's hold here for now and see what happens. I definitely know that his job as a closer is not promised to him. Look, I can't tell you I know he's going to get saves down the stretch. He may not. Ryan Walker has been really good, and really the Giants don't have a reason to switch back to Duvall yet, but he will probably give them one because, look, they want him to be the closer. This was a very short demotion. This was just a wake-up call. It's all it was. I mean, this guy has proven himself over the last 3 years as an elite closer, just not too elite this year. I get it. 4.57 ERA and even worse, a 1.59 whip. You just cannot walk that many batters if you're coming in the ninth inning. But look, the Giants did what they had to do. They're going to try to get him right. I think he will. Ryan Walker really is not profiling as a closer. I know he's been great in that role, and I know he's been great all year, but I mean, they want Doval back there. So again, I'm just going to hold on and see what happens. Saves are going to be scarce for the last few weeks. You need someone with that upside. I'm going to stick with him. Even if you don't drop any of those players, you still might need to add some players to help your team. That's why we've got waiver wire still coming out every week. Check out the latest one here.